You're tuned into Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Rislow. Thanks for tuning into our special coverage from the 27th Repco Classic Car and Hot Rod Festival, an event perhaps best known to most simply as Qemu, a name taken from the West Auckland town that sees its population surge in late January. It's been that way for the last 27 years and counting.
Qemu is a bit of an institution, really. I mean, everybody's here that's anybody in hot rodding or classics. It's a bit of a reunion almost. Big show, well supported. Weather like we're going to have this weekend is going to be stunning.
Oh, it's atmosphere. It's one of the biggest shows in New Zealand. And you're catching up with people that you don't see for years.
Set up camp and, get the leaners out in the gazebo and, it's just a good atmosphere.
Yeah, really great bunch of people, really well family orientated. It's a really great couple of days out. You get to see a lot of nice classic cars and retro caravans, you name it.
Qemu's a car-centric event, but there's so much else going on too that it becomes a bit hard to put a label on it.
How do I explain Qemu?
Just ask promoter Ken Galvin, who's still trying to work it out, despite having been involved right from its early days when he was a member of the original host club.
Other events around the country are got their own idiosyncrasies, but with Qemu it's really hard to put a handle on it. It's a bit of grass that turns into, it's a mecca of cars. It's actually been going, that long now, 26 odd years, that some of them were born here, now they're 26 years old and they're sort of taking over the event.
One look around this now generation-spanning hot rod festival and well, she's a bit of a monster. You sure won't find a whole lot of vacant real estate in the Qemu showgrounds. But somehow, despite the scale, and sitting just a stone's throw from New Zealand's biggest city, the festival's laid-back and relaxed atmosphere feels just about 1,000,000 miles from anywhere.
I think Qemu does that. Qemu gives you that feeling you're out in the country, but you're still so close. Out west, with all the Westies, it's car-orientated. Qemu, there is just so many cars floating around, and this is the place to come to.
West Auckland's a really different place, It is the Wild West. Yeah, we've got our culture and the way we do things. They started a good thing in the old days. It's gone big. I actually live in Qemu, and the reason I'm not proud is now we've got 2 traffic lights in Qemu. Because of it, I think, so that's a bit of a bugger.
So, the Repco Classic Car and Hot Rod Festival. Yep, clearly a car show. But fear not, long-suffering partners and children of petrol heads, because aside from the lines and lines of automobiles on offer, it's not too hard to find worthy distractions. There's camping on site with live music, the bar, and a food hall overlooks the hustle and bustle of the National Barbecue Championship Finals. Live displays and pageant shows. Early birds get the worm at the swap meet, while the trade tents showcase the talents of local workshops. The motorcycle display is always a highlight, as is the show car display next door. And it's here where things get a little more serious. The shed packed with a variety of high-caliber hot rods, muscle cars, street machines, even race cars, looking all the more smarter tucked away from Qemu's dust. There's plenty of other incentive to be here too, with a range of trophies for the taking. But perhaps the biggest honour is reserved for the winner of People's Choice. 2020's title holder belongs to a gentleman we caught up with in last week's show, Mr. Trev Halstead. Trev's owned this 1951 Studebaker Champion for just a touch shy of 50 years. And it was this car that kicked off a lifetime of slicing and dicing all things Studebaker. No points for guessing why people call them bombers, but this one is a long way from stock. Sure, it sports Chevy motivation for a start, in the form of a highly detailed 439 cube big block. And while it gets along just fine, it's the seriously revised body that's the star of the show here. The obvious place to start is the 4-inch roof chop with its raked windscreen and deleted gutters. Unusual for good reason. It's no easy task on a sedan. The tilt front end is another easy pick, but in reality there's very little else on the Bomber which hasn't been heavily modified and coated in gold under gold pearl flames. The drastically dropped ride height is thanks to a Z front chassis and a C-notched rear. Tough act to follow, maybe not for Trev, his restored 56 Skyhawk making it back-to-back People's Choice wins for this Waikato craftsman. With Trev showing no hope of shaking the Studebaker bug, chances are it's not the last time we might see one of his creations on the QView poster. His latest build sure looks set to redefine what can be achieved with a 1951 Starlight Coupe. A bit of out-of-the-box thinking and a brave hand. Also dressed up for the display hall was another familiar face, the freshly overhauled Show and Go Chevelle of Glen Eggleton.
So 71 Chevelle, running 510 cube supercharged big block, turbo 400 trans, and just modified 12-volt diff. Acquired the car at Beach Hop 2019, drove up there in a Camaro that I just finished, and this turned up on the side of the road for sale, and decided that needed to come home with us, so made the purchase whilst we were there. Drove it for the rest of the weekend and took it home from there. Took it to Father's Day drags 2019 as well. Managed to blow both the head gaskets and nursed it all the way home. Drove it there, drove it home. And stripped the motor for a basic freshen up. Got Lindsay Hay involved in an engine build and went from a basic freshen up to a complete new motor. We've used the original block and that's been it. Yeah, went from there. Colour change, new wheels, narrowed the interior was white, which wasn't going to work with the blue. So changed to black interior and it's gone on until we see it today.
The Chevelle cleaned up, taking out best muscle car as the big Chev coupes continue their rapid rise in popularity on New Zealand soil.
I think a lot of it's budget driven. You know, guys that were paying 60 odd grand for a Camaro 3 or 4 years ago are now having to pay, 90 to 100 grand. And the Chevelle, I think, became the next best thing. We've got a big Facebook page now in New Zealand with 70 odd cars, about 250 followers. So they're growing, stronger and stronger by the day, which is cool.
Back outdoors, it's clear to see QView has become a solid excuse for a get-together for plenty of car clubs, including Rotorua's knuckle draggers. With hot rod clubs in New Zealand starting to clock up 50 and 60-year anniversaries, the recently established knuckle draggers are at the other end of the scale. But this relatively new club has wasted little time in making themselves known with a lineup of standout cars. It's no hard and fast rule, but it's not hard to pick the theme. The cars are low, the white wall's wide, and the knuckle draggers sport a healthy number of clean customs and mild customs within the ranks.
QView is a bit of an annual pilgrimage for the club to come to. We just like to get up here. Weather's usually pretty good, have a few beers, have a laugh. It's nice having a bit of a show with the swap meet and everything else that's going on. So ticks all the boxes and we just really enjoy coming up. So Knuckle Draggers, just a group of mates, mainly based in Rotorua, but we've sort of got guys as far as Wellington and Waihi that are in the club. The club's grown a bit over the past couple of years, but COVID and everything, it slowed down in the way of being able to get together for a bit, but now the sun's out and we're free, we're back into it.
Taking up more than its fair share of the Knuckle Draggers campsite was Gareth's long roof Merc.
So it's a 1960 Mercury commuter wagon, 312 Y block. Yeah, just a dirty big tank really. 9-seater, fit all the boys in. It's a big long car, 2 metres wide across the back fins, low as usual, wide whites, just the way that we roll in our club, I suppose. Ugly, cool car. Yeah, it's one of those things that might not be the prettiest, but it's just got some crazy style to it, So I like a lot of the little features it's got. Swage lines in the roof and, sort of chucked a few aftermarket 50s accessories, just the mirror and things on it. But yeah, no, they're a cool car out of the box.
Parked next to the Mercury is another of Gareth's cars, perhaps the more classically beautiful Impala.
61 bubble top Impala here. I've only had it for probably, 8 months I suppose, so the car was in really good condition when I got it. Just airbagged it, bit of a custom sound install and skirts, changed the wheels, you know, same thing to go with the style of our club, I suppose, and the style that I like.
We'll have plenty more from QMU after the break.
Advanced protection of hybrid ceramic.
Whoa.
Now in 3 easy-to-use products. In original spray wax, now as a liquid wax, and a spray detailer. Meguiar's hybrid ceramic family with advanced SiO2 technology. Meguiar's, ceramic made easy.
Rizlone has been in engines almost as long as engines have been in cars. Why? Because from then until now, there's never been a perfectly clean fuel. This means every time you fill up, you're adding pollutants and contaminants to your fuel system. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner can cure those woes and help save your engine. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner adds an upper cylinder lubricant, providing double the cleaning power out of the same bottle. We know something about aging well, so when we say it's your engine's fountain of youth under a screw top, you can count on it. Rizlone is the original engine tune-up. Available at participating stores near you.
You're tuned into Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mount Shop, Meguiar's and Rizlone. You're back with our special coverage of the 27th Repco Hot Rod and Classic Car Festival from QMU. Much has changed in those 27 years as QMU has evolved into an event befitting of the festival tagline. Some things, though, have changed a little less.
Well, we've been coming since day one, from when NSRA, the club had it, and then Ken and Shane took over, and to now. So, I mean, it's been quite a while. For once, I would just like to hop in one of my cars and just enjoy QMU, but we've been buying stock from America for over 30 years, bringing it in the country. I originally shifted down from Whangarei to Auckland and bought the premises across the road just to be close to QMU, and that's what it's been like for us. You know, we enjoy it.
John and Robin Delamura's stall is something of a QMU landmark, sitting on the corner of Cruise Circuit Route 66. A popular one too, with a tempting lineup of USA-sourced vehicles. It's a routine that's become a bit more difficult of late.
We spend 3 months every year in the States and we go looking, you know, like I was going to say last year, but it was the year before. We looked over 100 cars in 3 months, and out of that 100, we probably bought 20, and out of that 20, we only shipped 6 home. We got the rest, left the rest there, sold them. It's not as easy what everyone thinks. I mean, you can do it, but it's not like 4 or 5 years ago where, you know, in a month you could VIN, insert a car and put it on the road. Today, it takes a lot longer and costs a lot more money. People ask me all the time, bring me this, bring me that. I say, if it's in New Zealand and it's turnkey on the road, take it. And they say to me, oh, but they're so expensive. I said, no, it's 18 months of your life, stress-free, and you can hop in and drive it now, and it's already done.
John's string of cars over the years has been the envy of many, but we couldn't help notice there was a bit of a low sheen theme emerging of late.
I was talking to a guy, Dan from Rocket, and he says, you've come over to our dark side. And I said, oh yeah, the patina stuff, it just, I don't know, it interests me too. I mean, I still like the shiny stuff, you know, good cars, but hey, it's quite like it.
There'd be no shortage of garages willing to accept a 32 coupe or this 39 lead sled, but what hasn't been up for grabs until recently was John's long-serving parts hauler.
There's a bit of a story with that. I bought that up at Paso Robles many years ago. Well, it would be over 17 years ago. An old dude I was talking to up there had given it to his grandson. And his grandson had a Jag which he rolled and then started putting all like Jag rear, big block and all the gear, all the seats, everything like that in the car. And he was disgusted, so he took it back off him. And I found it under a cover there and asked him about it. And he said to me, you know, what would you do with it? I said, oh, I'd put it back to stock. And he said, well, you can own it. But once I drove it from Paso Robles back down to LA, the shipping company, it just drove so well. Admittedly, when we landed back in the country, they sort of threw the book at it, but it's been 17 years our parts wagon, so it's been a great wagon for us.
Qumu's trade wasn't just cranking along on the swap meet side of things. It's long been a great background for hot rod shops to show off their work, both in finished form and while still under the knife. Silverdale's Real Rides continued their strong hold just outside the show sheds. Caton and his team turning up with this tough lineup featuring classic muscle cars with pro touring performance like this Chevelle Malibu. Setting it apart from the pack is the front splitter, air dams and subtle side skirts, while under the hood you'll find a blown 383. Further down the road, with a big corner presence, was the crew from Motive Auto Restorers.
We've been out here since Qumu's been running. Yeah, just the last couple of years we've decided to actually set up and actually display what the shop's now doing. Yeah, so that's the main reason, being out here amongst the people and showing them what we can do and everything like that. And yeah, and it's great. It's a really family-orientated business. Most of our customers remain really good friends with us, and a lot of them are here today. So we're based in East Tamaki in Auckland. We specialise in doing restoration work, everything from ground-up rebuilds right the way through to just fitting kits on Japanese cars, to engine swaps, to pretty much everything. So we've managed to bring different cars every year, so this is totally different to last year. So in front of us we've got a 67 Camaro. It's got a 427 LS motor in it. It came in for front end damage and it had a vinyl roof installed incorrectly on it, which was bubbling under the roof. So what we've done is we've repaired all the front, made custom filler panels for the engine bay, stripped the whole car back to bare steel, repainted all the roof, repainted all the car, and yeah, that's the finished article. The black truck at the very end, that customer came with that one. It came in for a rust repair and he pretty much turned around and just said, go for it. So we pretty much did what we thought, and he's a very happy customer and he got given back to him on his birthday, and so he was wrapped this year.
And yep, while they may have had their work shirts on, you got the feeling the Qumu gig didn't involve a whole lot of arm twisting for the Motive team.
Yeah, we're all got our own toys, yep. It's just, yeah, we all play, so.
Right, okay, it's a 1970 Dodge Coronet RT, 440, 18 spline, 8334 4-speed gearbox, and Dana 60 4.1 diffs, so quite a rare car. It's a super track pack car which they built 71 of. I hunted it down in California, and it ended up in Arizona, but before that it was a California car. I managed to track down the original pink slips for it, and I've got all the receipts as it changed hands through the years, so yeah, great car with a great history, really. To my knowledge, there's only 2 RTs in New Zealand. There may be more, but that's all we've tracked down. In the States, yeah, it's a very rare car even in the States. As I say, 71 built. How many survived? Who knows? Who knows? But like the Hemi cars, they only built 9 Hemi cars, so where are they now? 15 years ago, I saw one in Auckland City. The other car, it's a burnt orange copper coloured one. I saw it and thought, yeah, that's the car for me. It had stance, they're a very aggressive front, and you don't drive down the road and see another one every day, that's for sure. I wanted a top spec car, so I went on B-Body's Only website, kept my eye on that, and every so often you see a car come up. It wasn't cheap, but he'd spent something like 27 US on the motor, gearbox and diffs, so I thought, well, it's got to be a pretty good car. He had all the receipts. The only sad part was when it arrived we had to strip it to bare metal and start again. The paint had got damaged in the container. Once we did that, I know exactly what I've got. It's a solid steel car. It's got all the right specs. It's got the offset rear springs for drag racing. As I say, 4.1 diff, so it's a bit of a neck snapper when you take off. You've got to make sure you're pointing in the right direction. Limited slip diff, and yeah, and plenty of go. If it was a Hemi, it'd be the ultimate, but But 440, it's a pretty cool car. It's the keeper.
Sunday evening brings the massive Repco Classic Car and Hot Rod Festival to a close. 27 down, but they're far from done. With the game plan for QMU number 28 already underway, Way Out West will once again be the place to be in January 2022. See you there. During this year's Repco Supercars Championship season, the garage is your go-to place for all things supercars and motoring. Exclusive content, special guests, and your chance to win amazing experiences at the track. Register your interest today. Repco Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Rizlo, high performance additives for high performance vehicles.